$203 a month. That is the pension. Oh, one veteran was quoted after a short phone call, $797 a month. That is what another man ended up drawing, with the same years in uniform behind him and a Social Security payment of identical size. Their health never came into it, and neither one earns a dollar. The other does not. What separates them is a page of household bills that one of them handed in. That page is free, and it sits on the VA website this minute. Nobody from the agency will ring you up and mention it. Straight away, about the number. In the title, $797 is not a hidden payment with your name typed on it somewhere. It is what falls out of a calculation, and that calculation gets run right here with the government page open on screen. Some of you will come out higher than that, plenty will come out lower, and a few will come out with nothing at all, which is still worth learning this afternoon rather than 10 years from now. My job here is simple. Take one confusing VA rule and make it clear enough to use. 3 things and then we are done. The sentence on the government page that quietly does all the work. The everyday bills that belong on it and almost never get written down. And the arithmetic that turns 200 into 700. The third one holds the money, so stay with me for it. One thing has to come first because it decides whether any of this belongs to you at all. The benefit goes by the name Veterans Pension. A disability rating plays no part in it anywhere. What it asks about is wartime service. For men who enlisted before September of 1980, the bar is 90 days in uniform. One of those days has to fall inside a recognized wartime period. Anybody who went in after that date needs 24 months. Turning 65 clears the second requirement on its own, and so does a Social Security Disability Award. If your service came after August of 1990, look at the eligibility page on the screen. The Gulf War period listed there has no closing date on it. Congress never wrote one, so it is still running today. Before the main part, one favor, hit subscribe. Next time one of these numbers moves, you will know the week it happens. Now to the part that almost nobody reads properly. When a veteran first hears about this program, he settles it in his head in about 4 seconds. He pictures the deposit Social Security puts in every month, decides it is far too big, and never rings anybody. The trouble is that the 4-second sum leaves something out. On the VA page explaining how the payment works, the first bullet defines income for VA purposes as what you earn, Social Security included. The tail end of that same bullet is where the money hides. Some expenses, like non-reimbursable medical expenses, may reduce your income for VA purposes. Read that tail again. Health care you pay for out of your own pocket comes off the figure before anybody compares it to anything. Scroll down and the ceiling appears. For a veteran with no spouse or children, the maximum annual pension rate is $17,441. Housebound lifts it to $21,313. Where a man needs another person's help to get through a normal day, it reaches $29,093. All 3 of those numbers rose 2.8% on the 1st of December and stay put until November closes. What arrives in your account is the distance between that ceiling and your countable income. Countable is doing all the work in that sentence. Directly under the table sits a note in small type. Medical expenses are deductible only above 5% of your rate, and the page prints the figure so nobody has to work it out. $872 for a veteran with no spouse or child. So the first $872 of your health spending does nothing for you at all. Every dollar past it comes off the income the VA is holding against you, which turns the whole business around. The question was never how much the VA pays you. It is how much you spend, and hardly any household has ever sat down and totaled that up. Here's what belongs in the total, and the VA form lists more of it than most men expect. Section 5 alone runs to 4 separate blocks of it. Start with the cost that hides in plain sight. Your Medicare premium comes out of the Social Security payment before it ever reaches the bank. You never watch it leave, so it never feels like a bill, and it belongs on the list. Supplemental insurance premiums go on there. So do prescriptions, hearing aids, dentures, and eyeglasses, and all 4 belong in the same section of the form. Whatever a home health aid costs you goes on as well, along with adult daycare, residential care, or a bed in a nursing home. Section 4 of the VA form is built for exactly that. The form carries a whole section for that, right down to a box for the hourly rate and the hours worked each week. Mileage to and from medical appointments goes on there too. The form has a separate addendum, headed mileage traveled for medical purposes using a privately owned vehicle. And these costs do not have to be yours alone. The instructions say the VA can deduct allowable expenses paid by you, by your spouse, or by another relative counted as a member of the household. The form spells out what that covers, and it names a wife in a nursing home as one example. There's even a line in there for vitamins, food supplements, and herbal remedies. The VA allows those within limits. And beyond the limit, it wants a note from a healthcare provider saying they were told to buy them. Small as that sounds, it is one more thing sitting in a household budget that nobody has ever counted. The form itself is VA Form 21P-8416, the Medical Expense Report. Here it is on the VA website, free to download, last revised in October of 2023. The instruction across the top is one line long. These have to be costs nobody reimbursed you for, and nobody is going to. Two details on that form are worth knowing before you ever pick up a pen. The first saves you an afternoon every year. A cost that repeats gets entered a single time with the date it started and the monthly amount, and from then on it carries itself forward. And the Medicare premium goes down once. The second detail has cost people real money. The form carries a warning about that. Send in a new 21P-8416 without listing an expense you were already claiming, and the VA can drop that expense from the day the new form lands. So a continuing cost belongs on every version you send and not just the first one. Now for real numbers, because this is where it stops being an idea and starts being a check. Take a veteran of 72 living on his own, $15,000 a year from Social Security and nothing else coming in. Plain arithmetic gives him the distance between 17,441 and 15,000. That comes to 2,441 across the year, $203 a month, and that is usually where a man puts the phone down. Now add up what he genuinely spends on staying well. $8,000 across the year, spread over premiums, prescriptions, and the specialist he sees a couple of times a season. For a man in his 70s with 2 or 3 conditions, that is a quiet year rather than a bad one. Take the $872 floor off first, which leaves $7,128 deductible. His countable income drops from $15,000 to $7,872. Run the subtraction one more time. 17,441 minus 7,872 leaves 9,569 for the year, $797 a month. That is the figure the VA would print on his award letter. Nothing about that veteran moved except a sheet of paper. The two versions of him sit $600 apart every month for as long as he lives. Right about now, some of you are thinking, nobody ever told me any of this. That is exactly why I put it all in one place in a guide called The Unclaimed Money Playbook for Veterans. Same plain English as this video on the money veterans miss and the steps to go get it, and it comes with a second guide for your family. The link is down in the description if you want it. Now back to it, because there is one wall left that no amount of receipts will get you past. That wall is net worth, and the VA sets a hard figure on it. From the 1st of December to the end of November, the limit is $163,699. It weighs your assets and your yearly income together, plus your spouse's if you are married. The house you live in stays outside it, so does one vehicle, your furniture, and your personal things. Savings and investments sit inside it, and so does land, and so does a second property. A single dollar past the line brings back a flat no, with nothing partial about it. A 3-year look back sits behind that limit. Hand assets to somebody for less than they were worth inside those 3 years, and the VA can set off a penalty period. The penalty rate is $2,874 a month. The rule began on the 18th of October 2018, and it never reaches back past that date. So anybody weighing up putting property into a child's name wants somebody accredited across the table before a single signature goes on anything. One more honest limit, and it saves some of you the whole afternoon. The pension check and the compensation check never arrive together. The larger of the two is what gets paid. A veteran drawing compensation at 70% is already sitting above the pension ceiling, so none of this touches him. It was written for the men carrying no VA rating at all. Some have something small enough that it barely registers on the deposit, and some never got around to filing a claim in the first place. The benefit was designed for that household, which is also the one it never reaches. Two thoughts about this VA program are going around the room right now, and both of them deserve an answer. One of you tried this years back and was turned down over income. Whatever year that was, the decision came out of the VA figures for that year. The rules that went with them have moved a long way since. Your own health costs have almost certainly climbed as well. A denial is a decision about one moment and not a verdict about you. The VA rewrote the medical expense rules in 2018, and nothing stops a fresh claim going in under the ones standing today. Another of you is 78 and quietly wondering whether it is worth the bother at this stage. And the payment carries on for as long as the rules are met, and the IRS leaves it alone entirely. There is a survivor's version of the same program that continues for a spouse afterward. So sorting it out now does not stop mattering later on. And one of you has been putting off the paperwork because the last brown envelope from the VA took 11 months to come back. This is a different queue and a different set of people. The medical expense sheet is one page with boxes on it, and an accredited representative fills it in alongside you in an afternoon. So here's what to say when you call. Because guessing your way through that conversation gets nobody anywhere. The VA number is printed on the form itself, 1-800-827-1000. Start with whether your service dates meet the wartime requirement for a VA pension. Move on to which medical expenses can go on Form 2 1P-8416, and whether the Medicare premium counts as one of them. Finish with what an intent to file does to your effective date. That last one matters more than it sounds. The intent to file goes in on VA Form 2 1-0966, and the VA page says, submitting one can secure the earliest possible effective date for any retroactive payments. It takes a few minutes, and it holds your place in the queue while the rest of the paperwork gets put together. None of it costs a penny either. An accredited representative at the DAV, the VFW, or the American Legion will go through your numbers with you free of charge. You do not need to pay anyone for this, and a man asking you for a fee is the wrong man to be sitting with. 4 things to carry out of here. The Veterans Pension asks about wartime dates rather than ratings, and the Gulf War window has stood open since 1990. Your countable income is what is left after unreimbursed health care comes out of it, and only the part above, $872, comes out. That single subtraction is the entire distance between a check of $200 and a check of $797, and the roof over your head and the car in the driveway stay outside the net worth test, while property signed over inside 3 years does not. Everything here comes off public federal pages. It is general information and not legal, medical, or financial advice, and I have no connection to the VA or to any agency. The figures move every December. Your own situation may look nothing like the example we walked through, so confirm anything that touches your money with the VA or with a free accredited representative. Thank you for your time today. This has been Sonny Boone, and I will see you in the next one.